Coming up on the Empowered Woman podcast.
If you'd like to create alignment within yourself, with someone else, etc., then here is what aligned communication looks like. Because it's an invitation. It's not it's my way or the highway.
Right.
And so how do we create that dynamic within ourselves? And how do we do that with others? We create communication that really is about invitation and choice and coming to the table, meeting someone where they're at with an equal power dynamic.
Welcome to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on personal growth, visibility, and profit for women entrepreneurs. If you're wanting to get empowered to be seen, stand out on social media, stages, TV, and more to make an impact with your voice in business, you're in the right place. I am so glad that you're here. My name is Marta Spurk, and I'm your host, empowerment coach, visibility and marketing expert, and all things motivation extraordinaire. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode.
Hi, Rachel. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a true pleasure.
Yay, I'm excited for us to chat. I would love to get started and just hear more about who you are and what you do, and then we'll dive into our empowered path framework here and steps.
Absolutely. So I founded, and I'm a managing partner of a company called INLIGN, and we are a premier alignment advisory company. So you would never hear a leader, for instance, say, alignment is not something I need, right? Mm-hmm. That statement sounds kind of crazy on its face. And so we actually focus on creating a core competency around alignment, because in our view, if you're not managing towards alignment, personally or professionally, what are you managing towards?
Right.
And so that's what I've been doing. But of course, we can get into all the juicy details that you might be curious about and considering over time. So
yes, I would love to start diving into more. And I wanted to start with discussing a little bit more about the Enneagram, because we were talking briefly before recording, and you said you resonated with your results. So I'd love to hear more about what came up for you and how this has been showing up in your personal life, in your professional life. Let's talk about it.
Yes. So what's so interesting is what is your, by the way, what is your Enneagram type, so that I have something to talk about with you as we
I am a 3. So I'm the achiever.
Oh, okay. So I am a 7, apparently, the enthusiast. And I remember when I first saw this result, it was almost like understanding all of my struggles from childhood.
Yeah.
Because I had been in the, hey, you're going to need to move out of this space to come into this space. This is what a healthy 7 looks like. And I actually was reviewing it recently in preparation for our discussion. I was so excited to have this with you. And I saw it and I thought, oh yeah, I've integrated. I'm good. Like, check. Yeah. Like, this is how I live now. And I'm in this good 7 place. Not that there was a bad 7 place, but it feels inside of my body. It feels good in my mind.
That's wonderful. Well, and in the work that you do in terms of helping clients with alignment, a lot of it is finding that healthy space for them as well. Like, how can they learn to work with themselves? So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you help clients navigate that, which it seems to me has a lot to do with learning how to listen to themselves and listen to the cues that their body's giving them, intuition, or even listening to the people around them. Because at times that can be helpful as well to keep us in check, is seeing what people are observing about ourselves that sometimes we are in denial about. So I'd love to hear.
Absolutely. So one of the interesting things is my professional work has really been informed not only by my experience over my professional lifetime for the last 15 or so years, but also from a deeply personal place. So I got really good over time at being really resilient from a health and wellness perspective. And then I realized I wanted more. And so I did deeper work with myself, through therapy, mentorship, et cetera, to really let go of the things that were no longer serving me, to move into that place that did feel good. And so if you think about alignment, I got into alignment with myself and then realized, oh my God, the more I did that, wait, this gives me the context under which I can help clients from an organizational perspective, from a team perspective, and from an individual perspective. Because we actually took the time I'm a big word person. And if I don't know the meaning of a word and we don't have a common definition, it's pretty hard to actually have a conversation around it. So when I looked up the word alignment, I was very underwhelmed given how impactful the idea of alignment is that we know as people, right? We use that word not all the time, but we use it enough to understand what it means to us. So I went back to the drawing board and I thought, okay, how are we going to be able to actually create the alignment we want in our personal lives, in our professional lives, in our organizations through using this word? Well, we have to define it differently. And so it became for us when actions accurately reflect priorities and intentions. When your actions accurately reflect your priorities and your intentions, that's it right there. That's alignment. To say it in another way, actions, priorities, and intentions all connecting, right? If they connect, then you know that your actions are really what you want them to be from a very intentional place, not a default mode network, habitual place of things that you don't want to do anymore, but from an intentional place. And this can work in a professional context and an individual one, and it's one that we use all the time. It's also something that you can measure performance on around teams and organizations, but it starts with the individual because an intention is something you get to choose. It's not the mission or the purpose or whatever of a company or a group that you're a part of. It's what's your intention with showing up in this moment.
What are some of the tools that you use with clients to help them figure out their values and then their priorities and then make sure that their actions are in alignment with that?
So some of the tools that we use are really around personal. Well, let me back up a second. What do you mean by tools? Because I want to clear on the words here so that then I can answer what's in your head.
Yeah. Well, what ways or what methods or what is it, a specific format that you use to help clients then understand where they're at right now and gain that awareness?
Awesome. Thank you so much for the clarity on that. So one is one-on-one executive alignment coaching. So when I work with someone to really understand the different intentions, priorities, and actions that they have, but we start with intention because sometimes we find that our intentions are kind of competing, that part of us has an intention of one thing and then part of us has an intention of another thing. And that they're either seeing the same thing in different sides, different facets, or they're really like oil and water. And then we have to work with, oh, well, where is each of these things coming from? And what, in your own knowing, your own discernment as a whole person, what do you want to choose going forward? Because it is your choice. It might not have been your choice previously to this, but helping someone realize how much choice they have to choose their intention going forward is one of those deeper spots. Like, man, are we doing a deep dive here? Because like, these are things that, it gets to kind of that depth, but it can also be as simple as, here's my intention. This is what I'm prioritizing, the things that are the most significant, carry the most impact. And these are the actions that can actually follow from that. And then being able to help them with all the facets of that. So thinking about, for instance, a tool of, you know, how we talk about like open communication or something like that, boundaries. What we do with alignment is we talk about aligned communication, as in, if you would like to sow discord or disagreement, don't do any of the things on this list, do the opposite. Right? It's your choice. These are the rules of how to communicate. It's just, if you'd like to create alignment within yourself, with someone else, etc., then here is what aligned communication looks like, because it's an invitation. It's not it's my way or the highway.
Right.
And so how do we create that dynamic within ourselves? And how do we do that with others? We create communication that really is about invitation and choice and coming to the table, meeting someone where they're at with an equal power dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Mm. That is deep. You were saying that it was deep, and it is deep. And this work of becoming aware of what you're actually doing and not just going through the motions because you want to fix something and you want to remedy something and you want to improve relationships, whether, in your personal or professional life, it can bring up lots of stuff that we're not really wanting to deal with or prepared to deal with. And that's why we avoid this work, right? And I love what you said. It's like, then you see it and it's like, well, it's either this or that. Because if you keep acting like this, it's not going to be good. So what do you want to do? What is the real intention? Because the actions are not in alignment. So I want to talk about forgiveness a little bit. And I wanted you to bring up a little bit about yourself as you're working with these things yourself throughout your career, but also how this work that you do with clients invite them to forgive themselves once the light is on these things and shining these things that are not so pretty and that we may not be proud of. And then we have that temptation of beat ourselves up and be like, I'm a terrible person.
Yes. By the way, I love this question so much, given what we just talked about, because the idea is maybe you had those intentions for whatever reason. They helped you get to where you are now.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's an honoring of you chose that at the time or felt like you needed to do it. Either way, you are where you are. And that is an honoring. It is I did the best I could. I did the best I knew how. And it is an apology process to yourself.
Yeah.
If you recognize that certain things maybe could have been chosen differently, but you didn't know.
Right.
Or you knew, but there was something blocking you and you had to find your way. But hey, that's why you're here now. That's literally why you're listening to our conversation.
Yes.
And I literally had my hand over my heart when we're talking about this, because that was something I wouldn't use the word denied because it would almost be like I knew about it and didn't do it. But there was a definite lack of compassion for myself.
Yeah.
A real, and by compassion, I mean, I did not see or hear myself in the moment with real feeling. I did not hear or see myself in the moment with real feeling. And because of that, I was denying myself the opportunity to apologize, denying myself the opportunity to forgive, but I didn't know I was doing that.
Right.
So once I was able to go into that place, I mean, my gosh, this is so deep. But I love it. We've like dove in. I use swimming metaphor, by the way. So it's like you're in the shallow end of the pool and you can walk around and then you start swimming and then you get to a place where you're in the deep end. Oh, and then we put on some diving gear. So now we're like 50 feet underwater at this moment. So for those of you who are listening that are like, oh, I don't know if this depth is okay for me. Maybe take a break right now. That's okay.
Yeah.
And come back to it, because this is such a potent, I'm so glad that we're recording this right now.
Yes, I know. It's such a great conversation. And I love the word that you used, honoring. That is beautiful. That's really part of forgiving yourself, is honoring your choice, your decision with the information that you had and the emotions that you were feeling at that time, right? To act a certain way. And being grateful to yourself, like apologizing to yourself, but also being grateful to yourself because it means that you're here now, right? So now you're aware and you get to make more empowered decisions. So let's talk about empowerment a little bit and being proud of yourself, right? Because I feel like that's the main way that we get to empower ourselves, is with that honoring of who we are and reminding ourselves of the things that we did accomplish, that we did get. And maybe we got to this place in a not so healthy way, which is what we were just talking about. And now we get to choose different ways. So I'd love for you to share, in terms of building your business and your career and your personal life, things that you have been proud of or integrating more as a type 7. Tell us more.
Absolutely. And I really love being able to go from 50 feet back to 25 for the people who can get some breath in there. So I appreciate what you just did. And I would say the biggest empowerment was actually doing exactly what we're doing right now, like literally modeling for people of going at our own speed and being able to decide at any given moment what feels good to us. That was like one of the biggest things that I did for myself on a personal level. And then as it pertains to business, it was, wait, why am I working with people who don't appreciate me or the things that I'm doing? Or it's not that they don't appreciate it. I could be working in a more potent container and actually creating more impact. So what feels good? It's like on every level you get to decide, oh, I want to pause this right now. I want to start this more. I want to fast forward this. I want to rewind this. You get to choose everything. Yes. And once I realized that, all of those choices came to bear in my business and with my clients and everything else, because now they're getting that same modeling so that they get to choose.
Right.
And it being like one of the things I like to do with executives and leaders when I work with them, either in teams or individually, is, do you recognize, like, let's dive in to the deep end a little bit of how much influence and impact you actually have the ability to have, right? Because a lot of times people come with this frustration of a lack of action or execution or things not moving in the way that they want it to move. And it's like, let's step back and take kind of an audit, like a good audit of all of the things that you have choice around. Everything in terms of how you're showing up, how you're engaging, what your choices are in terms of yourself, your own beliefs, because that's also a choice.
Yes. Personal responsibility. Yeah.
Beliefs are a choice too. Everything that we do in our lives, we get to choose how we make the meaning of it. Work, sex, relationships, all of it. I mean, we choose how we want to make the meaning. And so sometimes how we've made meaning in the past might not be serving us anymore. And it is really brave to go diving in general, like 1 foot under the water with diving gear on. I did it over the summer and it was like, whoa, I'm actually trusting myself and my ability to use this instrumentation to go deeper underwater than I thought was possible. Yeah. And you go down and down and down. And that's, to me, what this is in real life, is like showing up like that with your ability to choose and really take an audit of your choices. That's great.
It really is. And I love the scuba diving analogy. I used to do a lot of that before I had kids. And it's such a great way to understand how important it is for you to be centered emotionally, because your life depends on it. Right? Because if you start freaking out, it's not good for you or anybody else. So you're forced to calm yourself, to be centered. And we can learn this in a day-to-day life where we have the luxury of freaking out, but it's not good for us. Right? Oh my gosh, that's so good. Well, let's talk about, go ahead.
I was going to say, on that note of actionable tools, because I'm all about action. Yeah. It's something for us and your listeners to have access to, is something I was taught by a mentor, to create space, right? It's really easy to go into freak out when we become the thing we're freaking out about, or we take too much attachment to it.
Yes.
And so I can't tell, for instance, my body, like my elbow or my shoulder or my knee or something like that, to not freak out. It doesn't have a language center. The language center is only in my head. So in order to get my body engaged in not freaking out and having like a tense up physical reaction, which then leads to maybe talking in a way that you didn't want to, thinking in a way that you didn't want to, all of that, taking the time before a meeting where you feel like you might want some more of that space and choice for yourself. Right now I'm pointing my palm towards myself and I'm waving it in front of my chest. So it's, this is me, palm away towards you. That is them. This is me. That is them. This is me. That is them. I do that 3 times, and you can insert names like, this is me. This is the podcast. This is me. This is INLIGN. This is me. This is you. And it's just this recognition of your own ownership, so that you can really be present and curious in the moment, instead of attached to the thing that you're freaking out about, which then actually would solve for that thing a lot more effectively anyway.
Yes. Which we know logically, but when we get caught up in the moment, it's hard to remember. But I love that when we freak out, we become the thing that we're freaking out about, instead of realizing that it's separate and we actually have control of how we're going to react. We're deciding to freak out. Oh my gosh. When you freak out, you decide to freak out. It's really it. And I always say overwhelm is a decision. Feeling stuck is a decision. We're deciding and we're choosing things. But I'm super curious, transformation wise, on hearing some examples, if you can share, of clients that have progressed and have really changed their situation by doing this alignment work, which, by the way, it just reminded me, one of my mentors always says that by you being in alignment, everybody else benefits from it, right? You being in alignment does not mean somebody else out there is going to suffer. And at times we use that as an excuse, because if I do this because I want it and it feels good, that person's not going to like it. Right? So then you don't do it, and it's just messed up.
I love that you said that. And it is so true. How do I put this? You showing up in your own skin and modeling this literally not only benefits you, it has a ripple effect on everyone around you, because they are implicitly seeing what choice looks like, which is such a thing in a society filled with intergenerational trauma.
Yes. They get to see what choice is like. That is powerful, and we all have it, and we need to become more aware and enforce it more often. But tell us about, because you work with executives and people, high performing people out there. What are some examples of how this work has helped people in their personal and professional lives?
Oh my gosh. So I'll start with the thing that came up this morning at an earlier executive alignment coaching call, where someone else was being coached and they were talking about a team member who also had received coaching and how far along they had come. And this person had started off, they were a top seller in their company in this particular industry. I'm just trying to anonymize it.
Oh yeah, totally.
So top seller, and very tied to success, very tied to positive outcome, as you would be especially when your paycheck depends on it.
Yep.
Wanting to do the absolute best work and wanting to show up in a way where maybe you weren't necessarily welcome in that industry or field. So this person was feeling also like they had to perform even more than their colleagues were in order to get the same level of respect and dignity. And so we worked through the idea of owning your own respect and dignity, that this is a birthright. This is not something that you get from being a top seller. This is something we can all own. Yes. What does that look like for you? And then this idea of being able to slow our actions down with intention. So some people like to use the word discipline. I offer a word of intentional action, or action with intention, because the word discipline has a somewhat negative connotation for some people. So this idea of using intentional action when we communicate of, okay, if I'm feeling really hot right now, I'm actually not going to allow myself to do any emails for at least 5 minutes. I'm going to do the things that I learned in this session. I have written them out. They are 3 things. I've put them on a sticky note right in front of my computer. I'm going to make sure that no matter what's going on, I am showing up with my own choice, my own presence, because that is my greatest asset. So this person started really practicing certain key and deep things, but also a lot of the other, things around strategy execution that sometimes we touch on. And 4 months later, I mean, it's the leader who I was speaking with, he was like, it's night and day. I can't even tell you now, not only are they a top seller, everyone actually really enjoys working with them. They are getting even better results than they already were getting. And oh my God, alignment, this is a paradigm shift for this idea of being able to go out and, not know all the answers, not know what's going to come in next, but actually show up as you, and having that be more than enough to create positive impact.
That's amazing. And being able to embody that, because when we say this, owning that you get to decide your worth, and that your dignity and all of that, it may seem just so abstract, but it's by having these conversations and catching yourself in those moments where you actually get to embody, where you may sort of understand in a mind level, logical level, right? And that's the work that you do with helping people be in alignment, so that their body, their minds, their emotions, they're all talking the same language and move towards their goals.
And I would add to that this idea of meeting people where they're at. So some people I work with, if they heard this right now, they'd be like, oh my God, she goes that deep. Am I going to have to go that deep? I can't eat some of this, which is why I was like, okay, it's okay to take a pause and then press the play button 5 minutes later. Right. Because for some people, this level of depth needs to be titrated. I know if I had heard this, I how would I put this? If I had heard this like 10 years ago, I'd be like, what are they even talking about?
Yeah,
right?
this is weird.
Exactly. And
I get it.
Okay, that's not meant for you right now. We can meet you where you're at. Then that's the most important. That equal power dynamic, my knowing is not more important to you than your knowing.
Right.
We're coming to this from a place of engaging as equals. And you and your own knowing, when you get past the fear and the overwhelm, but your true discernment, your own discernment, that will 100% be able to lead you in the direction that you want to go.
And this is great advice too for anyone listening to us that is a business owner, maybe in a coaching capacity, and at times, meeting clients where they're at, because we get engrossed in this bubble. Like my podcast is a bubble of personal development, and we talk about this stuff all the time. But then I go and I talk to my electrician husband, and if I were to say some of these things, he's like, "This is weird. Please stop." So. And that's fine, because we live in different worlds for our profession, and that's okay. So I love that you brought that up. And as a reminder, as you're onboarding clients that need this help and need this work, but they're not necessarily catching on to that yet, but that doesn't mean that you can't work with them or that you can't help them if that's part of what you're doing. So thank you for bringing that up and making sure people feel included.
I love that. And I was going to say on that note, it really comes down to what success looks like for that person. Yeah. Everyone has their own, some people, you might look at that and go, that's starting below sea level. I'm up on like K2 right now, or Everest. And well, that's your own lived experience. We're all here for different reasons. Yeah. So there's really no way to, like, comparison. I call it the C word. It's just not. And so being able to meet someone where they're at it's all about them. What does success look like for them? Because if you're helping them achieve that, then that is in right relationship. That's in alignment.
So true. I love it. Well, before you let us know how we can find you and contact you and work with you and all the things, I would love to ask the question that everybody's curious about. Are you ready?
Yes.
Rachel, what is an empowered woman?
Oh, I love it. Oh my God. An empowered, and by the way, I did not prep for this at all because I wanted myself on the spot.
That's the idea.
Yeah, exactly. So, to me, the first word that came to mind is choice. It is recognizing, owning, and honoring your own choice.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's so true. That is so true. And just like what we said, when we are in alignment, when we are empowering ourselves, we are modeling choice for people as well. And that is the only thing we can hope for, right? Especially for me, having kids, showing that to them, showing that to clients and everyone. That's wonderful. Well, tell us how to find you and get some of this amazingness that you should just shared a little of here.
Absolutely. So if you go to getinlign.com, that's www.getinlign.com, and you can actually connect with me, working with me one-on-one. And you can also sign up for something that is called the Alignment newsletter. And it takes you on a journey, email by email. It's very prescriptive over time, walks you through the shallow end, goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And so you get to decide where you want to create alignment in your life, your business, your relationships, yourself, on your own terms for the results you want to achieve.
That's wonderful. I'll make sure and have that in the show notes. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. This was a lovely conversation.
Absolutely. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope this episode empowered you. And if you enjoyed the show, please join the Empowered Woman community on Facebook and share with friends, or leave a review on iTunes so more people can discover this empowering message. Until next time, bye.